was a teenager, my dad had this interesting habit. He would take the meat mallet from the kitchen and he would put it in completely random places all around the house. I would find it in the bathroom. We had like this balcony archway thing in our house, and he would put it up there. He'd put it in the cabinets, like the spice cabinet, like places where you would not put the mallet. In the pantry, in the bathroom, outside, in his bedroom. And every time I needed it for, like, actual meat tenderizing reasons, I would always have to go and look in the most unlikely place and I'd find it. And thankfully I didn't need a meat tenderizer all that much. I wasn't tenderizing a lot of meat. I did do a lot of the cooking when I lived with him, but it was not enough to... You get the point. I wasn't tenderizing a lot of meat. And I came to find this phenomenon interesting because I didn't think to ask him why he was doing it, why he was dragging a meat mallet all around. You are being so needy. What do you need? I didn't think to ask him why he was doing it. I didn't care why. I just found it, honestly, humorous. My dad and I didn't have the best relationship. It was tumultuous at times. We had a lot of good times, we had a lot of bad times. It was in between most of the time, and towards the end, exclusively bad. But overall, always different, I guess. There was never any guarantee of which side of my dad that I would get. So I found this little habit of his kind of interesting and humorous. I would wonder what he was doing with the meat mallet and why he needed it. Why he needed it in the spice cabinet or in the dryer. I would take pictures of where I would find the meat mallet to make fun. I called it the Meat Mallet Adventures. I would send it to my friends, and they'd find it so funny because why is this 40-year-old man dragging a meat mallet around with him everywhere? Like, what purpose does that serve? My dad died in November of 2021. And it was hard because it was extremely sudden. He died of an overdose. My dad had been battling addiction pretty much since I was 13, 14. He was addicted to opioids. And I made the connection all this time later that the meat mallet that I found so much humor in was what he was using to crush his pills. The pills that would later go on to end his life. And I still think about that from time to time. How something that ironically brought me joy, in a way, because it was funny. Random meat mallet adventures, it's funny. But that ended up being not necessarily a cry for help, but a symptom. A symptom of his addiction. An addiction that I never knew the full length of, the full strength of, until it was almost too late. Until I would argue it was too late. I think about whether or not there was anything I could have said, whether there was anything I could have done to change his mind, change his direction. Because I asked him to get help. Everybody in his life asked him to get help, and he rejected it. He didn't want to go to rehab. He said it wouldn't be useful. He was on Suboxone for a while, but he would go out of his way to do science experiments to try and make it active or something. I don't understand how those drugs work, but he tried to extract opioids from poppy seeds. He did everything to get around the fact that he had an addiction that he didn't want to admit was going to kill him. Even though I think we all knew deep down that it would if he didn't stop. I never did tell any of my friends who I shared the Meat Mallet adventures with the reality of the Meat Mallet. I guess I just wanted to maintain a sort of innocence in myself by not admitting that this part of my past that was once humorous is in retrospect actually deeply shattering. Because that could have been the same meat mallet that he used to crush his final pill. I don't know. Looking back, he also had, these little baggies and straws, cut off straws everywhere, and I never knew what any of that related to. I didn't know it was drug paraphernalia. I just thought that he liked to chop up straws, and I didn't know where the bags came from. I thought maybe they held little batteries or tiny screws for something he was putting together. I had no idea. To think of how far back it was, because to me, his addiction started when he started showing those symptoms, the erratic behavior, the falling asleep in the middle of a conversation, sleeping all day, becoming angry for no reason, becoming paranoid, pawning everything in the house, including my laptop. Drugs turned him into something that he wasn't. And even though we never had the best relationship, I know that the man he chose to die as was not my father. And he never was. And maybe he never wanted to be. I know that addiction takes over lives. I know it from personal experience. I'm not on anything hard. I would say my worst addiction is caffeine. But I definitely do have an addictive personality that I thank my dad for. But I hope that the greatest lesson he could teach me was in his own death. Because now I have this, I would say I have a bit of a unique perspective when it comes to addiction, having lost someone to it. And it's not terribly unique. There's many, many, many people who have lost someone to addiction. More people have lost someone to addiction than people who have died to addiction. When you die, you spread that pain to everyone around you who loved you. That alone should be your reason for getting help. And now I move forward, creating what he can no longer create. Because my dad was a creative person too. He was never a writer the way that I have attached to writing. But he was an artist in his own right. I guess through my experiences with him, I can keep creating. And I hope that those creations will resonate. And I hope that maybe through his death, I can help save some lives. Anyway, I'll see you next time.